So you're planning to immigrate to Canada or Australia, and you've hit your first big hurdle, CELPIP or IELTS. It can honestly feel like a major test before you even sit for the actual test. In this explainer, we're going to break it all down so you can make the absolute best choice for your journey.
Yeah, you're not wrong to feel that way. This is so much more than just an exam. It's a massive step towards your new life, and picking the right test can save you a ton of time, money, and, let's be real, a whole lot of stress. So let's get you that clarity.
All right, so let's meet our two main contenders. In one corner, you've got CELPIP, which you can think of as the Canadian specialist. And in the other corner, we have IELTS, the global giant. They're both heavyweights, but they fight very different fights.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the dilemma every test taker faces. Then, we'll properly introduce our contenders. After that, we'll have a head-to-head showdown on the 4 skills. We'll dive into scoring and the all-important points system. And finally, we'll figure out which test is the right one for you.
So let's kick things off with Section 1, the test taker's dilemma. And it really is a dilemma, because this isn't just about checking a box on a form. It's a strategic choice that sets the stage for your entire application.
Here's the bottom line. Both of these tests are 100% accepted for immigration. But, and this is a big but, they are not the same thing. The format, the feel of the test, even how the scores are calculated, can feel like they're from different planets. This choice has real-world consequences for your budget, your timeline, and your final score.
All right, let's move on to Section 2 and properly meet these contenders. It's really helpful to know where these tests come from and what they were originally built to do. First up, we have CELPIP. That's the Canadian English Language Proficiency Index Program. This test is a product of Paragon, which is actually part of the University of British Columbia. It's completely computer-based and designed from the ground up to reflect everyday life in Canada. It's the true homegrown option.
And then, of course, there's IELTS, the International English Language Testing System. This one is a global powerhouse, backed by huge names like the British Council, IDP, and Cambridge. It's been the standard since 1989 and is recognized everywhere. Plus, it gives you a choice. You can take it on paper or on a computer.
Okay, and this is super important, so listen up. Both of these tests have different flavors. For what you need for immigration, you're looking at either the CELPIP General Test or the IELTS General Training Test. The academic versions are for getting into university. So for everything we're talking about today, we're only focusing on these general versions. All right, now for the main event. Section 3, the 4 skills showdown. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to put these tests side by side and see how they really compare when it comes to listening, reading, writing, and speaking.
Let's start with listening. With CELPIP, it's Canadian accents all the way, and you only see the questions after you've heard the audio clip. IELTS, on the other hand, gives you a mix of global accents, British, Australian, American, and critically, you get to read the questions while the audio is playing. That can be a huge strategic advantage.
Moving on to reading. CELPIP keeps things pretty straightforward. It's mostly multiple choice, which means you don't have to worry about your spelling. IELTS, on the other hand, throws the kitchen sink at you. We're talking more than 10 different question types. Fill in the blanks, matching paragraphs, you name it. It requires a lot more mental flexibility.
How about writing? Well, on the CELPIP, you'll be typing 2 very practical things, an email and a response to a survey question, both around 150 to 200 words. IELTS is more classic. You got to write a letter of at least 150 words, and then a more formal essay that needs to be at least 250 words. So you can see a totally different vibe, right? Practical versus academic.
And now for the big one, the speaking section. Honestly, this is probably the single biggest difference between the two tests. For CELPIP, you speak into a headset and your answers are recorded by the computer. No human interaction at all. For IELTS, you have a live, one-on-one interview with a real person. For many people, this one difference is the ultimate deal breaker.
Okay, on to Section 4. Let's talk about what really matters at the end of the day, the score, and how that score turns into points for your immigration profile.
Okay, take a look at this. This is the official conversion chart from Canadian immigration. It shows you how your scores map to what's called the Canadian Language Benchmark, or CLB. And I want you to notice something really important. See how a single CELPIP score lines up with different IELTS band scores for each skill?
So what does this actually mean for you? Well, with CELPIP, it's beautifully simple. Your score is your CLB level. You get a 9, you have a CLB 9. Easy. But with IELTS, to hit that same CLB 9, you need a 7 in reading, a 7 in writing, a 7.5 in speaking, but an 8 in listening. That much higher bar for listening catches so many people by surprise.
And just to be crystal clear, the immigration system doesn't care how you got your CLB level. It just cares about the level itself. Your points are based on your CLB score, not on which test you took. So your one and only goal is to pick the test that gives you the best shot at the highest possible CLB.
But just how much of a difference are we talking about here? Well, it's huge. Let's say you're a single applicant. Just by improving your scores from a CLB 7 in everything to a CLB 9 in everything, you gain an extra 56 points in your Express entry profile. That's not a small bump. That's a potential game changer that could get you that invitation.
Okay, that brings us to the final and maybe most important section. Which of these tests is actually for you? We've laid out all the facts, all the differences. Now let's build a framework to help you make your call.
So who is CELPIP for? Well, you should seriously consider CELPIP if you're way more comfortable typing than handwriting, if the thought of a face-to-face interview makes your palms sweat, and if you like the simplicity of multiple-choice questions. If you're good with Canadian accents and just want to get the whole thing over with in one single session, CELPIP is probably your best bet. On the other hand, you're probably an IELTS person if you know you perform better when you're having a real conversation with someone. It's also the choice if you prefer good old-fashioned pen and paper or if you simply don't have a CELPIP test center near you. If you like the challenge of different question types and want to see the questions while you listen, IELTS is calling your name. Look, at the end of the day, there's no such thing as an easier test. There's only the test that is a better fit for your brain, your personality, and your strengths. This choice is the very first strategic step on your incredible journey to a new life. So now that you've seen it all broken down, which path will you choose?